Welcome to Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing. What if you could learn from experienced real estate investors, find out what got them to where they are now, get insight into their daily habits, and take these insights to inspire your own growth? Each week, Jonathan Green shares an in-depth look at the mindful approach to real estate investing. Jonathan is a real estate investor, advisor, and coach, as well as the founder of Streamlined Properties and the team leader of Streamlined Properties on Market, brokered by eXp Realty. Whether you are looking to start from scratch, get to the next level, or just a straightforward and honest approach to real estate investing, Jonathan seeks to provide a free mentorship program you can take with you anywhere. Now, here's Jonathan.
Welcome back to another week of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing. I always think it's going to be a great show, but I'm really thinking you're going to like this one. This is going to be a self-storage show, also about building a legacy through these investments with Travis Baucom of Baucom Capital. Can't wait for you to hear the show. But just a quick reminder that we do have 10-minute clips on my YouTube channel of all the shows so you can see our faces, watch us interact, and then go back, listen to the whole episodes on podcasts while you're in your car, working out, wherever you listen to podcasts. And while you're there, it really does help us if you leave us a 5-star review, share it with your friends, subscribe, hit the bell on YouTube, all of those things. I'd appreciate it. Let's get to the show. This is episode 66 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing with my guest, Travis Baucom. Travis is the founder and CEO of Baucom Capital. He's a director of overall investment strategy, asset acquisitions, and business development activities for the company. He is the personal selector of most of these deals. Travis, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jonathan.
Yeah, pleasure. So let's start with self-storage, and then I'm going to back into what I like to ask about the beginnings of real estate. But how did you end up in self-storage?
Yeah, we had a really big residential house buying company. And so we in 2012, I bought my first house, and then I kind of figured out how to market to off-market properties around 2015. And we just started maximizing that as much as possible. And so from 2015 to 2018, we bought about 400 houses. And, at the end of that, when you're buying so many houses, it takes a ton of people, employees and indirect employees, like contractors, that sort of thing. And then, you're bound to have issues, litigating issues, that sort of thing, and either selling the property or dealing with contractors.
Yeah.
We had a house that got flooded, right before we sold it. It was a disaster. And so I just, at the end of 2018, around October, I fired everybody and I had a whole bunch of projects going. I had about 72 rental properties, and I was trying to figure out what is an easier way to take my skill set of buying real estate and eliminate all this stress and eliminate all this chaos. And that's essentially how I ended, over a 6-month process, looking at pretty much every asset class, even looking at businesses to buy. I ended up narrowing down on self-storage because it seemed a substantially simpler version of owning real estate. And it seemed like I could grow my wealth a good amount at the same time.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, after they've made the pivot, realize there's no tenants, there's no contractors. If somebody doesn't pay, it's pretty easy. You just lock them out with a code. Is that part of the things that you started to realize, that it would be a less stressful and potentially more scale for your skill set that way?
Yeah, it seemed like it was a true cash flowing asset. So you could, every guru out there talks about passive income in real estate, but the reality is, with the syndication model, which has taken off since 2013 or 14 or so, just houses or multifamily flipping to another syndicator to another syndicator to another syndicator, there's not a lot of cash flow left. You might make a 2 to 5% cash and cash, but the real juice is selling. And you'll make a 2x when you sell to the other person that is going to hopefully raise rents, that sort of thing. But in storage, it seems like you could quickly increase the net operating income because you're dealing with month-to-month leases as opposed to 12-month long leases. You also can have very, very low maintenance due to the fact that you tend to not have utilities at these facilities. You definitely don't have plumbing, which is the one that causes the most damage. Unless it's a climate control facility, you don't have AC. You might have electricity to power the security cameras and the lights and the gate, but that's about it. And so you could really project your expenses a lot easier than with any other asset class that I've owned or I've read about. And so, with the multifamily property, let's say 100 unit, you have 100 AC units that at any given time might go out. So you're going to have to budget for at least one of those suckers that going out every month. That's just going to happen. You're also going to have tenant one in unit one and tenant in unit two. They're going to argue with each other and eventually have a domestic dispute where the cops come, and that's going to, you're going to have like 5 or 6 really good tenants that want to move now because of that. And that was, we owned a few apartment complexes, and for us, that was just a disaster. And so we really like that storage is a non-habitable asset class. And it's rare that more than 3 to 5 tenants actually come to deal with their stuff on a given day. It's mostly, they drop it off, they forget about it, they go get it. I know when I've had storage units myself, like maybe have shown up twice in the 2 years that I had it, probably to get Christmas stuff, get the Christmas tree. And then, my wife's like, where's this one thing? I'm like, I'll go to the storage unit and try to find it. That's pretty much the only time I would go there. So we love that. It's basically a metal building with with people's crap, and they don't actually ever come. And so our facilities, we require ACH or credit card payments, auto pay. So like by the 5th of the month, we've gotten 98, 99% of our rents. And man, that's, I can't think of anything that's better than that.
Yeah. And a lot of facilities don't really have a building manager because they really are easily managed by themselves. You don't need on site. You can create these kind of like places where you can buy locks, like just in a vending machine now. Is that what are your facilities staffed with actually like kind of like supers, as I would call them? Or is that just you guys?
We have one facility that has a lady that sits in the office 25 hours a week, and then she works from home the other 15 hours. The entire industry is going to remote management. But the only reason she sits there 5 hours a week is because some people in that market, very rural market in oil town in Texas, some people still don't have bank accounts or anything. So everything is cash. They'll have an iPhone, but they don't have a bank account.
Yeah.
And the other two are some of their other facilities, some of our bigger facilities in major markets. Yeah, there's no one there. As far as getting a lock to the tenants, they pay a $25 admin fee. When they pull up their unit, there's a lock with a welcome package. And that's about it. If they have any questions, they can call our call center. Our call center, the way we structure our call centers, we have mini managers is what we call them. And like one manager will take care of 3 facilities. Yeah. And if there's an issue with one of those 3 facilities, she'll call the fractional facilities manager. And that's going really well. We, instead of having to pay $45,000, $50,000 for a manager with a $36,000 to $40,000 facilities manager, we're paying $24,000 a month plus maybe $500 for a fractional facility manager to show up and put overlocks on the property or on units and mow the property and make sure it's clean. That's it.
Yeah, it's another good point though. Right at the end, like the maintenance is kind of like ancillary. Like it's not. It doesn't have to be a pretty building. You own an apartment building. The residents feel better when it's nicer and you have amenities. Nobody cares about self-storage. You don't need like a playground, in the back. You just like
right.
Knock it out, put another row of slidable doors up, and then you can do it. And I think that's important because their expectations are continually met as long as the space is clean and they can get their stuff in and out. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. The biggest, in a multifamily project, they want to feel, safe and warm, that sort of thing. Whereas the storage, they want to make sure their stuff is just not going to get stolen.
Yeah.
Even like spraying for weeds, blowing the debris down the aisles, and just keeping it mowed, keeping the lights on, keeping the gate closed and working. That's pretty much. There's very few things that they need. It's very utilitarian. It's way different than apartments or houses.
Yeah. Don't you? I think, though, this might help for newer investors who are looking into self-storage. I don't think that people realize how many different types of facilities there are. You have your like outdoor mom and pop, which are just kind of like pull-ups and locks. And then you have your new version, like these super high-end ones that all the big companies have. Where are you falling along your guys' investments, like in terms of the technological advancements that make it easier, but also cost more? But if you're in Texas, you're going to be buying mom and pops that are, like you said, some people are going to be cash only. So you do need to have someone on site because they've done it that way for, 12 years.
Personally, we get the best yield on the secondary, tertiary markets of the mom and pop purchases. So we like to buy the assets that, it was either built by the guy selling it to us or they've owned it for 10 years.
Yeah.
They push rents 4% every 2 years or something like that, where we know we can push rents 15 to 20%. Those are the ones we like to buy, typically because you can increase yield quite rapidly, like I said, compared to other asset classes. We've entitled other, like, the 3-story, extra space or public storage facilities. Entitlement means like we've gotten the plans ready, we bought the land, we got it shovel ready for someone to develop it. And we've just chosen to sell those off to other bigger developers because we can tend to make a pretty nice return, double our money within, 6 months to 2 years.
Yeah.
And that's just internally doubling our money. Building those suckers, in my opinion and in my experience, building the 3-story major market, climate control facilities is almost a different business than buying the mom and pop buildings. And the reason why is because when you're building something that big, it's going to be 3-4 years before any investor gets any cash back.
Yeah.
Because you got to build it. It takes 14 months and it's going to take 3 years to fill up. And so you're, 4.5 years into this and people start getting a trickle. And then, typically you end up selling it to an extra space. So it's just, in our opinion, so far, we've just like selling it to extra space up front and then, using our investor cash to go and make a 2.5 to 3x on a mom and pop facility that was built in the 90s.
Yeah, I agree. I just feel like, the REITs and hedge funds are all buying the bigger ones anyway. So if they can buy the land and develop it from you, even better. The mom and pops definitely have the scale because they're usually older. They want to get out of it. Are their records always great? Not really. But that's kind of the fun of it. You try to piece together, but I think for mom and pops, are you adding units? A lot of times on the exterior ones, there's a lot of land where you can just add more rows, especially in places like Texas. Have you found that that's where a big value add is, where they're just not maximizing the space for units?
Most of the time, we've got a facility in South DFW that we've just added, 6,000 units, and we're planning on adding another 6,000 square feet of units.
Yeah, I
and
was
we're
like,
planning
wow,
on adding,
that's a big facility.
Yeah, 6,000 units. That covered the entire metroplex. And then we're adding another 12,000 square feet of climate control. And the reason why we chose climate control is because it's the only climate control within a 10-mile radius of that spot. So we could probably get a bump of 30% in rents just because it has an air conditioning. Yeah. And then we got an RV and boat facility up in Oklahoma City that we it's currently 10 acres, but we own the additional 18 acres. And if you look at, there's a company called Rec Nation that is a RV and boat REIT. It's like the only RV and boat REIT. And they tend to like 30-acre parcels. So our plan with that one is to restabilize the existing, and then we'll do some canopy-style stalls on the other 18 acres over, probably 2 phases. And so that's probably a 2028 sell. And we paid $6 million for that. The stabilized value of the existing should be around 11. And then it'll be about $5 million to build that extra expansion. And then we should, based off rents, we should be able to sell for 28 to 30 million. So it'll be a really good project.
Yeah. Nice. It looks like, it sounds like you have like a different scale on a lot of different projects. What's the when you first started, what was the first self-storage that you bought?
Yeah, we actually, so as I mentioned, we were selling a lot of our houses that we had, and my accountant reached out to me and said I was going to have $127,000 tax bill because of doing that. And I'm like, that I have that, but I don't want that to go to the government. So I started calling every broker I knew, and I wasn't just looking at, I wanted self-storage, but I needed to buy something around $2 million to depreciate it, accelerate, cost seg it, and then accelerate, depreciate it. And that would eliminate that tax bill. So I was calling offices, I was calling everything I could except multifamily because I didn't want to own multifamily. And I found 5 facilities within a small community of, this oil town in Texas. And we ended up closing on December 30th on those 5 facilities. It was 83% of the units in that town. So I knew I had a pretty good market share and that I could end up, raising the rents a good amount the first year. And so that was the first building we bought, or the buildings we bought. And then sure enough, by doing the cost segregation study, we eliminated all that $127,000. And then my partners on that deal also eliminated a good amount of their tax bill just because of the way the cost seg accelerated depreciation works. And so that one has gone really well. We increased the rents almost 60% the first year, and we're still maintaining a pretty high occupancy. We've not raised rents this year just because the hard thing about these small towns is anybody can buy metal and pour concrete. And so there's an extra 100 units. We're like, well, we just need to be careful to not over increase it. But by doing that, at a 5 cap, it's worth probably $4.5 million. Facilities aren't selling for a 5 cap anymore, but we could probably get 3.5 to 3.75. And all we did was raise rates and painted the facility. It's a real simple project.
Do you guys prefer to buy with low occupancy and then do more value add, or do you buy also with high occupancy and just kind of run it and increase slowly over time?
Yeah, we've done a little bit of both. It really depends. When you're looking at a low occupancy, you got to find out why. There's 3 reasons why. It could be because the phone number doesn't work anymore on the door. It could be also because they don't have a website. It could also be, so no one can get their stuff out or in because the gate's broken and they can't get a hold of anybody. That could be a reason why it's low occupancy. It could also be low occupancy because the market is just overbuilt. So you have too much, given the example I just used, you have too much supply for the demand. And so everyone's just soft. And the best way to figure that out is you got to call every single facility and kind of secret shop, ask for how many 10 by 10s they own or what their occupancy is. Most people will give that information to you because it's just a pretty laid back industry.
Yeah.
In the instance that there's no website and the phone number doesn't work and you can somehow find the owner, that can be a pretty good turnaround. Those facilities tend to go for a premium just for kind of cost of what you could build them for. But then you could make a lot of money by filling it up. So I like when I'm looking at deals, I like when it's 100% occupied and, rates for a 10 by 10 are 30 to 50% lower than what the project down the street is getting.
Yeah. I definitely want to talk about other data that you use in choosing. But the one thing I wanted to mention, which for, again, new investors who've never thought about self-storage, think about multifamily and the transition. I think the thing that people forget most about why self-storage is such a good investment is because as an owner, you were saying before, like you can raise the rent a lot and no one's ever going to move because it's such a pain in the ass to move whatever you have in storage to another storage facility that costs basically the same and then is going to do the same thing. So like I know from my experience in having units like you were talking about before, like they could keep raising it $20. I could probably be up like $150 of where I was when I started. And it's never enough for me to like go, okay, I'm going to go rent a truck, drag all this stuff to just put it in another bin. Is that like the thing that helped you see how much easier self-storage was than trying to raise people's rents who are going to dispute it and put rocks down your toilet?
Yeah. or try to flood the house. Yeah, that is one of the reasons. It's not like mobile homes where like you literally can't move the mobile home and you can just charge whatever. But with storage, there's a delta on how frustrated a human being gets at the seller at the buyer of the facility, and how anger and rage causes them to get their stuff out and move somewhere else. We think about 20% a quarter is probably that delta. We raised rents a lot at our Oklahoma City facility, and we straight up made a mistake on that. So we're eating that, but we're filling it up at the new rates slowly. And so once we're done out of the uncomfortableness of that situation, we'll have taken a facility at $40,000 and have gross revenues of $75,000. So it's definitely true. RV and boat's a little different because you just gotta go in there and you hook up your boat or your RV and you can drive it wherever you want. It takes about 10 minutes. And so, there's that. But generally speaking, there definitely is. If you trickle up that rent, no one's ever going to leave. So if you go up 20%, if you go up 5% a quarter, that's $105. If it's $100, that's $105, and it's $110, and then it's $115. And then you kind of have to sporadically do it, because if you do it consistently, they'll be like, well, every quarter they go up 5%. I'm just getting my crap out. But if you do it every 6 months or 7 months, and the next time you do it every 3 months, kind of surprises them. And psychologically, people don't realize how much you're going up on them. But yeah, everyone gets upset when you raise rents. It's just like when gas goes to $5 when it was $3, 4 months ago. People are going to complain, but
they're still going to complain
and move their stuff. But if there's enough demand, it doesn't really matter. So
Yeah. And again, like you said, like it's not that easy to research other self-storage facilities. It's not just that you have to move your stuff. If you're in a small town, they don't all have websites. They're not going to tell
Right.
you on there. You're not going to know what the facility's like. It's just too much of a pain. Like I'm in the same storage unit and it's just art storage. So I really don't want to move it because I have to be careful with it. So it's easier just to leave it there. Hey, this is Jonathan. Thanks for listening to another episode of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing. On this brief interlude, I wanted to tell you that we have a mailing list. I actually don't love mailing lists. There's so much. This is not an automated mailing list where you get on a drip campaign. These are written once a month, will eventually be at once a week again by me, direct, and they're not spammy. So if you want to sign up for our mailing list, you can go to bit.ly/streamlined with a D mail. Bit.ly is bit.ly/streamlined mail. See you there. Going back in terms of like data, how much do you take into account things like population growth, traffic patterns when you're looking? If you're focused in a general area in Texas, how important are those things for people who want to get into it?
Yeah, I'd say we look at deals all over the place, primarily business-friendly states. Specifically, those two metrics are very, very high. You need houses to be selling. You need population increasing. Population increasing is really good for storage. Population decreasing is really bad for storage, like very bad. The one facility we have that isn't doing well is the market is a decreasing population. So we are no longer buying decreasing population facilities, and so in facilities in decreasing population towns. As far as VPD on the roads, that is a pretty popular big metric. And the reason why is because if people aren't driving by your facility, they're probably not going to see your facility.
Yeah.
It's just like direct mail. They have to see your direct mail 5, 6, 7 times before they know you. Like, oh, this is where I can put my stuff. So they got to drive by it. They also got to see it on Facebook or Google PPC. When they're like wanting a storage facility, they tend to be doing self-storage for you or close to you or close to me, like self-storage near me.
Yeah.
If they see a brand that they've noticed, even if it's psychological or subconsciously, then they'll go after that brand. And so those are popular metrics. We also look at a 4-mile radius of what other facilities are doing, what they're charging. If you live 2 miles from a facility, you're probably not going to drive much further than 4 miles away to get your stuff. And so Extra Space says that their main, I think it's like 95% of their tenants come from a 3.67 mile radius. And so, after buying Life Storage, they're the biggest storage facility in America, or storage facility company in America. So we look at that. We want that number to be somewhere under 8. If it's somewhere around 4, we're going to take that very serious. That means that it's very undersupplied and there's probably quite a bit of money to be made. If it's around 8 or 9, we'll glance at it a little bit, check those other things, see what the other facilities are doing. If the other facilities are full, then we might have an option. And another thing is if rates are really below the market rates, it could be because that owner didn't push the rates. It also could be that the facility sucks. Like, it's really hard to get in and out. The gate's 10 feet wide. If you have a trailer, a U-Haul, you can't get your U-Haul around the corner without hitting another unit. All that stuff plays into the stuff that we look at during underwriting.
That last one's a really good point because I think like novice buyers might kind of miss that. They're focused on the spreadsheet and they're not focused on the accessibility. But like accessibility is like giant because if it's hard to get into, no one's going to go. Those right. Facilities will go down right away. Maybe they get in the first time and they don't notice it. But if you have to go a lot and it's difficult, that it's too annoying. Like that's actually a reason to move.
Yeah. And another thing that's really important that people don't look at is the amount of theft.
Yeah,
but they do get broken into, and if you can look on Google My Business reviews, and we were looking at one that we really got excited about, and it was full, and the market was like really per capita square foot per capita was really low, and we're like, man, this is great. And then we pulled up Google My Business, like every single one of them was like, don't store your stuff here unless you want to get it stolen. Don't store your stuff here. I'm like, geez, okay, well, because we can fix that with cameras, light.
It's easy. Yeah.
But there's a reputation that is going to take a very long time to get rid of. And because of that, like we don't even want to mess with it because the reputation's too much. We can put under new management and that will help a little bit. But generally speaking, thieves know they can jump the fence, and
Yeah, yeah.
we're going to have a security car there for the first year until they realize that there's an easier place to steal stuff. And then and then as far as like the like the facility side of things, like I always think about if my wife is very capable, very smart lady, but she doesn't know how to she doesn't have a lot of experience driving a 24-foot deep U-Haul, and I'm like, if she can she get into this unit, or can she get through the gate, can she turn, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And if she can't, then I start thinking about that thing, because I don't think my wife is abnormal when it comes to people driving a 24-foot U-Haul. I don't know if I could drive a 24-foot
Yeah, I
U-Haul.
don't think any of us are very good at it if that's
Yeah.
not our thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. I mean, I think you look at the demographics of an area, try to figure out what's great about it, but it's a totally different mindset, don't you think, from now what you're in self-storage as it was for home buying. They're just different products overall. I mean, real estate investing's huge, but
it's a real estate asset that is ran like a retail service business. And so I call my tenants customers or guests as opposed to tenants, because like when I think of tenants, I think of like the rowdy old Class C tenants I used to have, where I was like, no, like we were very appreciative of our guests who are putting their stuff who are trusting us to keep their stuff very secure at our facilities and make sure nothing happens to it. When it comes back, it looks just like it did before. There's no water leaks, there's no rats, there's no thieves, there's no issues with the gate, there's no debris or old mattresses that were put on the the side of it. We want all of that crap to be gone. So it's a lot of nice, like you really do, you have to work on your reputation management, because it's not just like they can throw that stuff away. They choose to keep it. So it probably means something to them.
Yeah. Yeah, I've actually found, I mean, I've had a lot of storage units over the years just for overflow. And like, I really enjoy, I don't think about the cost at all when I finally have to go, like you said, once every year, and I go and it's temperature controlled and the lights go on as I walk, each panel opens up. It's easy to get to the things, the aisles are wide so I can get whatever I want. They maybe have a couple, push carts available there. It makes a big difference. And like you said, it doesn't have to be staffed. It just needs to be clean, so you know that your stuff is being taken care of, as opposed to multifamily investing where, like you said, bathrooms can leak, tenants can fight, people can get annoyed over parking. Compare that back to self-storage. Like you said, I mean, what's the max amount? You said 3 to 5 people at a time. Like, I don't know that I've ever been at a storage unit in my life where I've seen more than one other person that didn't work there, ever at any time. It's just like the oddity of storage that nobody really goes.
Right. Yeah, totally. With I remember we had a multifamily project, and like the lady, the toilet was leaking. She didn't tell us about it. And then the downstairs neighbor told us about it when it was like 6 months after the toilet started leaking. I'm like, dude, this is a $10 fix if you would have just told us. And now it's a $3,500 fix.
Yeah.
Because you chose not to let us know about it. And I got to put 2 tenants somewhere else now, as opposed to, just tightening up some screws. So
yeah, I mean, you're holding tenants' stuff, but they're not living there. Like you said, there's maybe usually 1 bathroom or maybe 2 for different sexes at a place. So there's very limited water other than sprinkler systems, which are there to save in case of fire. But most buildings are either metal or cement, so it's just an easier construction. Have you done? We talked a little bit about construction. Have you guys also done construction instead of just adding ones? But have you done ground up for yourself?
We like I said, we prefer to not do ground up, like straight up 100% ground up. We like doing expansions because we have, on an expansion, you have revenue coming in,
right?
And then you can add units, which costs money, but at the same time, like can greatly increase the yield. And then if you're buying a lot of extra land, like we have a property that we're under contract in Tulsa, and it comes with an extra 8.8 acres. And so we're going to build 2 more buildings, and then we still have 5.5 acres we can build on at a later time. And so we really like the expansion components. It's a little bit easier to get done because there's already an existing building. The city sees it a little differently. When we have attempted to do ground up, like like the Extra Space 3-story deal I was telling you about, man, it just takes like 2 years to get it entitled. I'd much rather just spend that time going and buying existing facilities and making money doing that.
Yeah, I like the point you made. I mean, you have existing income. It's like it's better to buy like 10 units if you have the money in multifamily than 2, because if there's a couple vacant units, you still have cash flow coming in. If you're going to add on more units, at least you have money coming in. So your spend is vetted against, income or occupancy rate that's already coming in. When you're buying facilities, what, like, just ballpark it, like, what's your average occupancy rate of one that you're taking over? I know they can come in like different shapes, sizes, but like, what's the general occupancy of ones that you're taking over?
Yeah, 100%. So we really like the ones that have the tenants there. It's the easy way out, in my opinion. Like, all we have to do is go in there, start cleaning it up, making it better, move the gate in, fix the fence, add some security cameras, make sure there's enough lighting, and then, send them a letter saying, hey, we're going up 20%.
Yeah, and because you bought it 100%, like, if you lose a few, okay, you're going to get them in. It's already at 100.
Yeah,
That's great.
Yeah, a bank considers a self-storage facility fully stabilized at 85%. So we could lose 15% of our tenants and still be fully stabilized. And then we have units available for new tenants that are calling us. And we really like to talk to the seller before we buy it and be like, how many calls do you get? Typically, it goes straight to their cell phone.
Yeah.
And, it's not very unsophisticated. And, it's amazing that we have a facility in a really small town in the middle of nowhere in south of Dallas, and we get 15, 20 calls, and we don't do any marketing. Like, we have a big sign, a big old sign out front on the highway, and that thing's full. We raised rents. It went down a little bit, then it got full again. It went from 98% down to 91. Now it's back to 97. That's the one that we just added the 6,000 units. So if we include the 6,000 square feet of units, which is another 60 units.
Yeah.
When we include that, then we're looking at an addition. I guess it's 50% full, but those things have only been online for a week or two. So, and another thing is, if it's full, that there's probably some pent up demand, maybe a waiting list, and we can hit the waiting list. So we've made offers on properties that are empty or like almost empty, but it's been in markets that we really wanted to be in, outside of Austin. There's a mountain bike park. I like to mountain bike, and I'm like, I need a reason to come here more. And so I'm like, I'm going to call all the facilities, and I found out all of them are full except this one who the phone number didn't work, no website, the gate's broken. All the tenants around them were like, we don't know who this is. So I'd like Google and like skip trace the LLC. It's some dude out of San Diego. Unfortunately, they had just taken another offer, so someone else was there before I was, but it's the one that got away. But yeah, that's, those deals are the ones we like, the ones that are either full or the owner has basically neglected them or sucks at marketing.
Yeah. Is there a certain, I guess, classification of units that's more attractive in terms of the sizes? I know from being in them and looking at them, they come in all different shapes and sizes and dimensions. Is there some standard setup that's better? Because I would just assume, like, people need small units, big units, that's going to maximize your profit. So when you're looking at them, are you looking for anything in terms of diversification of units to small to big?
In a way. So the more rural it is, the bigger units you want, because they're going to have like 4-wheelers that they want to store there, and that sort of thing, or boats. Urban settings, you need smaller units because you have young professionals that want to like store their skis and their boots and, maybe their kayak or something like that doesn't fit in their apartment. But that's about it. There's a good amount of, you can get as detailed as you want on ground up construction. That's another difficulty of ground up construction, is figuring out what the unit mix is. Yeah. You can hire a consultant to do that, and they can come up with a general idea, but they might be wrong. And so we feel like ground up constructions needs to be reserved for those who have $100 and $200 million funds, and they can absorb a little bit longer lease up. Yeah. Whereas we're single asset syndicators, so we find a deal, we're going to raise money on that one deal, and so we have to be pretty confident in what we're buying, and that's typically. Generally speaking, a 10 by 10 is the most common used. Yeah. 10 by 10, 10 by 15 is the most common used unit, because a 10 by 10 can fit a two bedroom house. A 10 by 15 can fit a 3-bedroom house. 10 by 20 can fit a 4-bedroom house. So we want predominant unit mix to be those 3 unit mix. And then we'll throw in some 5 by 10s. Well, the crazy thing is, we have in our rural areas, the 5 by 5s, 5 by 10s are the most vacant units that we have. But in like bigger cities, they're the most occupied units. So
So that makes sense.
Yeah, and so like on one of our facilities, a 5 by 5 might only be getting $1 a square foot, but the 10 by 10 might be getting $1.50 a square foot. And it's just like, we're literally like, you could rent 4 or 5x5s, or you and for cheaper than a 10x. It's interesting how it's all that comes back to that retail consumer thinking process of like, it's a retail business that you got to think about, like, what do people need, as opposed to most apartments are 1 bedroom, 1 bath, and then they go to 2 bedroom, 1 bath, or 2 bedroom, 2 baths, and then occasionally you have like 10 3 bedrooms. It's fascinating. So
Yeah. So what would you say the I guess the makeup is, not demographically, but in terms of like what people who are investing in your syndications, knowing that it's self-storage, what are they looking for? Why do they come to you, and why are they thinking self-storage in general as an asset class?
Well, I think most of them come to me for a variety of reasons. Those reasons would be self-storage has performed the best out of all the asset classes over the last 3 recessions. The data is there. You can talk to the owner operators that have been doing it for 30 years, and they would agree with me. Additionally, it does provide a good, when you're starting out with an expansion, there's not going to be any distributions because it's all the money's going in that expansion. But when that thing's full or stabilized, it does provide a good 8 to 10% cash on cash. Brand new facilities are typically a 2 to 5% cash on cash.
Yeah.
And then they're just stable. Like when it comes to, there's not a lot of volatility. So once it gets full, unless you do something dumb like double the rents, or not take care of it or neglect it or something like that, then people tend to stay there. You might lose 10 tenants, but you gain 10 tenants.
Yeah.
And so they just stay full because Americans don't like to throw things away. And, we like to keep things. And sometimes we just need extra space.
Yeah.
And then ultimately, we have a track record of offering, over the last 12 years of any asset class we touch, our blended average internal rate of return is 34%. So, we have a track record of offering a very high return to our limited partners and to our private lenders. And so with that said, I think those are the main reasons that people invest with us. I take it very personal when someone invests with me. So if you give me money, I'm going to make sure that I do everything I can to get it back to you. There's a lot of syndicators out there. When the tide was rising for so long, the longest bull market we had, there's a lot of syndicators just doing it for the fees and hoping things work out. We do a tremendous amount of analysis to make sure what we're buying is going to be a good project. We look at everything that touches our email or comes across our desk. Probably look at over 1,000 deals a year, and we end up buying about 2 or 3. So we really filter them down. We want a very specific type of facility. Like I said, 100% occupied, expansion room, ability to raise rates, high VPD, population increasing. All those things are requirements for us when we get to buying a facility.
Yeah, I think it's important the more experience you get to really create your buy box so you can get through those 1,000 deals quicker and just say, no, that's a no. This one's close. Let me look at this. You said something that I think is really, really important. I don't want the listeners to miss. And I agree. I think that self-storage is probably the most recession-proof asset out there, because when there's a recession and people have to sell their houses or there's a lot of foreclosures, they still need somewhere to put their stuff. So maybe they're going into rentals. They're not going to be as big. Self-storage could arguably maybe possibly do even better on the downsides of fees. Maybe some people can't afford to keep their units, so there's some drag off there. But is that what you were saying in the data? They really seem to be like overall just recession-proof to me.
Yeah, there's plenty. So the National Association of REITs, there's a lot of data out for all asset classes. Industrial / self-storage is always at the bottom. Like if a bar graph, you have like 0% of defaults up to like 10%. Office is up here now. Industrial storage is like hitting almost 0. It just tends to work. The reason why it works is you have so many tenants in one place, and there's not a lot of human interaction, so it lowers the chaos, and so you can really project your yield. It's just a real simple business. I'd also say, the thing about recessions is on a storage facility, the data shows that as it's going down, as there's a market cycle. So I would say we're somewhere around here right now. As it goes down, storage ends up filling up. One thing that storage doesn't do when it's going down is rates don't increase. And so a lot of that's because people can't afford it. But then when we're coming right back out, it's still full, and you can start charging a lot more rates, like 20% a year. And so if you're making money on the downturn, you're going to be making a crap ton of money on the upturn or upside. And so there's really no negative. The only negative is if you own a facility where the supply is just way too high or the population's decreasing. All those things really have a negative effect on storage. And the one out of the last 4 years of buying storage facilities, the one REO or the real estate owned foreclosure I saw, it was in a declining market outside of Las Vegas. And so it's very fascinating. We've looked at tons of deals, and that's the only one that's was owned by a bank. And I honestly probably think there was a story there, like the guy filed bankruptcy or whatever. But
definitely in Vegas, that seems almost impossible to have an REO on a self-storage. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I was going to ask where people could go wrong in self-storage, but I think you pretty much just nailed a few of those things. Are there any other things that maybe we missed where someone who maybe they're trying to build a bigger deal, they're looking into self-storage, like what's something that they might miss that they really need to pay attention to?
Yeah, all the things I've mentioned so far in our underwriting, those are really important. Thankfully, we knew a lot of those. We've learned a few of those the hard way, but generally speaking, even the ones that we've learned the hard way, it wasn't that like the facility started losing money. It just took a lot longer to fill up because the population is decreasing or whatever. If you have too much supply for the demand, that's a huge negative. That's something you got to look at. The best way to figure that out, it used to be easy pre-COVID. All you had to do is kind of measure the other facilities and figure out how big they are and divide that by the amount of population. However, since COVID, there's been a lot of demand for storage, way more demand than there was pre-COVID. And the best way to come up with it, if it's oversupplied, is just call all the facilities as a customer. And then ultimately, not taking care of your guests, not taking care of your tenants and your customers. If you don't fix stuff, you're going to get bad reviews. If you get bad reviews, you're not going to be able to fill it up as fast. You're not going to be able to demand as high of a rent. And so that's going to affect your yield. It could cause a negative yield, especially if you have a floating rate loan. You start losing tenants because you're not doing a good job of taking care of them. Your floating rate loan goes to 8.5 and you're breaking even at 6, you're going to be in a pickle. And so as in all things, taking care of your guests, your tenants, and your customers is by far the best way to be successful. The second best way to be successful is to make sure your numbers are right.
That first one, though, is really important because I think some people might, listen to parts or listen to other self-storage and think like, oh, well, no tenants, so I don't really have to be like a good owner or a good landlord. But like, it's still, you're caretaking their property. So that part's really important because I think, like you said, one bad review then becomes a slippery slope because it is that hybrid retail business. Like you said, one person, maybe it wasn't bad enough for them to write something, but then they see somebody say something that resonates with them. Hey, the door doesn't open for, 7 hours a day. They're going to maybe hop on and then that doesn't stop. And like you said, of buying one like that, very, very hard to get that back up. It costs way more to move the reputation back once it starts going down.
Yes, indeed. And I would say like the gate is one thing. You can pull the chain off the gate and open it and keep it open for your guests. But if the overhead door locks and they can't access their stuff, they do not play nice. That is something that they hate. And so being able to fix that, the great thing about these doors is they're like, they have like a 30-year warranty. Most of the time when they stop working, you just have to replace a spring.
Yeah.
And it's the manufacturer that comes out and replaces a spring. And so, but yeah, that's water leaking on your stuff, your overhead door not opening. Those are the two biggest complaints we've had as we're taking over facilities. And and it's a 300 unit facility. We don't go and open we can't open up a lot of these because they have locks on them. There are tenants in there. But so you learn it kind of slowly. And then it's all about like hitting that, basically kind of more like a hospitable method, just like trying to get to it as fast as possible, calling them every day. Hey, this is where the guy's at. He's supposed to be here on Wednesday. Should fix it in a day. Can you come and take your lock off? Your stuff is safe.
Yeah.
And that's typically, how we find it. That's typically how we deal with it. But yeah, taking care of customers is number one, just like any other store does. And then just making sure that your debt's right, your cash is right, and your accounts receivable is coming in correctly, then you'll be fine.
Yeah, but all of those things really sum it up well, because the way that you describe your company and the way that you buy and your investors is the same way you're talking about the facility, making sure that the people who are investing in you or your facility by renting there are well taken care of, so that there's a mutual relationship. That's not how everybody is in investing, but I think that's always going to be the way that long term is going to get you the best tenants who actually also care about the facility. If you're say you're a bad self-storage owner, people maybe not going to be as careful making sure that they close the door. Maybe they leave it open, on purpose, and you just don't want to get yourself in those situations, because those are where the big costs could come in.
Sure. Absolutely.
Awesome. So if people do want to learn more about your company, is the best place to go to baucomicapital.com. That's BALCOMI capital.com.
Yeah, or an easier website is investinstoragedeals.com.
Oh, I plugged that in and it goes to that. Yeah, okay, that's better.
Yeah, it's such a forward, but no one knows how to spell Baucom. So investinstoragedeals.com is the best way to reach out to me. And you can also if you just want to chat about storage, get on Instagram at Travis_Baucom. And that's, I spend a good amount of time on Instagram a day. So I'll be happy to talk to you, answer any questions you have about storage, and chat with you about anything else.
Awesome. Well, it's been a pleasure. Thanks. That was great. We've had a few self-storage. This is just another great one to add, but different material. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, no problem. I enjoyed it.
All right. Thanks so much. That was episode 66 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing with my guest, Travis Baucom of Baucom Capital. I'm Jonathan Green. We'll see you next week. I hope you enjoyed that episode of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing with me, Jonathan Green. And I just want to remind you, and this is always an uncomfortable part, I don't want you to think that I'm begging for you to like, subscribe, follow, do whatever you have to do for the podcast, leave a 5-star review. But if you like the podcast and you think it adds value in the real estate investing sphere, then just do me a personal favor. Like the podcast, follow it, share it when you can with your friends, and be so kind as to write a 5-star review if you believe it deserves a 5-star review up against what else is out there. I would really appreciate it, and I hope you keep listening.